You failed to mention one thing, which is financially. I mean, can you afford?
What?
to
Yeah.
start a
How
business?
great you want to buy a business? How you gonna fund it? Do you have money saved up? Are you gonna finance it? If you are gonna finance it, where do you go for that financing? Like if you're a serial entrepreneur and you've bought and sold businesses, your banks are probably just waiting for you to come with the next loan request. But if you're leaving the corporate world, you're going to be in for quite a shock the first time you go to a bank and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a business. Could you loan me $500,000?" They'll be like, "Right, yeah."
Right.
Most of the lessons I've learned have been hard.
It's not just selling a product, it's selling anything.
My mom came home and said, I heard they're having clown college auditions, and I told my mom, good luck, go get them.
Time to catch up with the CEO Bros after hours. The conversation continues.
And we are on. Welcome to
Cheers.
CEO Bros.
Cheers.
Brad Baldy to the left, Brian Baldy to the right. Cheers.
Cheers.
We are talking about all things
well,
business.
America.
Here we go.
And today we're going to be talking about buying a business. Now, we talked about selling your business. So for those who watch that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you get more episodes right to you. But now we are going to talk about acquiring a business.
Before we start, I saw an interesting fact yesterday. I thought I'd throw it by you. Since we are after hours, we are having cocktails. Can you guys name the 5 top selling beer brands in the world?
Oh, I'm not sure.
In the world.
Yeah, top
Like,
5.
Is Modelo up there?
No, it is not.
Lowenbrow?
Top 5 in the world.
Right.
I will say that Modelo is the number 1 beer brand in the United States. Domestic selling. It's blown by everybody and it's vaulted to first. But can you think of the top 5?
But it's not in the top 5 worldwide?
No.
So then the top 5 are
Well,
not
it's gotta be something
American
from
beers.
China then.
That is not true.
Right. Tsingtao?
It's got to be
That is not
something. What is it?
Tsingtao?
Very nice, Bryce. So one of my favorite beers, Tsingtao,
You just get
a
credit for
Chinese
my
beer.
answer.
I'm sorry. Was
You
that going to be
just got
yours?
credit for my answer.
You weren't going to say that.
I said
Budweiser?
So number 3 is Budweiser, but does not crack the top 5 domestically. So think about that.
Isn't
An
that
American
crazy?
company that is the beer is drank throughout the world, but not drank.
Well, I'll go. I love Sapporo, but I don't think that's going to make it.
No, I don't think. I think with the
Is it
exception.
that one in Australia that we talked about?
No,
Foster's.
I think with the exception of one other one that you might think of.
Heineken.
There you go.
Is it?
I was
From
going to
the
say
Netherlands.
that. I was going to say that.
Number 4 is Heineken. And then the other 2, the number 1 selling beer in the world is snow beer from China. Number 2, Tsingtao.
Can we get that? Can we
3
try it?
Budweiser, 4 Heineken, and then 5 Harbin in China. So 3 Chinese beers, 1 American beer, and then Heineken from the Netherlands.
Before
So
we get off this quickly, so New Glarus Spotted Cow, they don't sell in Illinois. The decision to do that is why?
I think just exclusivity. That it's a niche product that is brewed in Wisconsin, and they take a lot of pride in that. Actually, I reached out to the good folks at New Glarus, and their distribution does not fall outside of Wisconsin, and they have explosive sales.
Yeah,
in
that's why.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, interesting.
So they don't even need to. How about that?
I feel like I should be drinking a beer now
Yep.
instead of a
I'm
cocktail.
thirsty. Oh, so buying
Buying
a
a
business.
business. We are buying. We talked about selling a business. Now we're going to say, hey, you want to make money? What about acquiring a business?
Right. And not you have a business and you're going to acquire someone else's business. This is like starting from scratch. You can either build a business or you can buy an existing business. And we've talked a lot about building a business from scratch. Today we're going to talk about, hey, I want to leave the corporate world, or, sick of what I'm doing. I'm going to buy an existing business and run it, make it better, do
So
whatever.
I wasn't even sure I knew that. So we're not talking about I have a business I want to add on, I want to acquire.
Correct.
I'm buying a business. So frame of mind has got to be important as well. Not to jump. I don't know what.
I think of it, you're an entrepreneur. We've talked about, I built By Your Side from the ground up. Obviously, you were a big part of that. Brian built VHD from the ground up with others. And now we're saying, okay, well, if you're not going to start a company from scratch and build your own company from the ground up, you could just buy a business. You could buy an existing business. You could buy a franchise. So we want to talk about some of those things. And I'd like to throughout, I think it's right. We talked about a 3-part discussion or 4-part discussion over buying a business, and we could use real live example. I'm considering right now co-investing in a new business, a pool hall.
Nice.
So we could call it Baldy's Billiards for the sake of this conversation. Even though that's not the name, it could become the name. It could become the name. But it's interesting that we'll talking
try a
about
few logos maybe.
It's interesting that we're talking about this business or this as a topic, because I truly am evaluating and have not decided if I want to buy this business or not for a whole host of reasons. Well, there's a lot of great things, but there's also a lot of challenges and risks and things that I'm like, do I even want to get involved and do that? So,
were you looking to buy? Did this opportunity present itself, or you were in the market?
That's a good question.
Yeah, so
we're going to use you as our guinea pig. Matt and I are just going to pepper you with questions.
It was something that in the back of my mind I wanted to do in the years ahead, while I was and not be necessarily at a pool hall, a billiards business. Running a business full time, day to day, because I'm the president and CEO by your side, but it is a business that I wanted to co-invest in. So obviously, my outlook on how I was going to be involved with this business, how I was going to invest in it, how I was going to be involved with it day to day operationally, all has to be taken into consideration, because I don't have all the time in the world,
right.
Doing a podcast and running the autism therapy business that we aspire to grow and continue to grow. And so this is something I'm considering, may not do it, but it's a good kind of a beta test or test.
And you are a very good pool player, exceptional pool player. Did that factor into it?
That did. Because one of the things when Brian was talking about this as a topic, I was thinking about, okay, if I'm starting a business, one business, and I'd say this for anybody that wants to start a business, you better be passionate about what you're getting involved in, because you're first of all, we've talked about, you've heard us say it through multiple episodes, you got to be all in mentality. Even if you're part-time involvement, you still got to be all in mentally in what you're getting involved in. And then secondly, you got to be passionate about what you're doing. If you're getting up in the morning or you have to work on something late at night, if it's something that doesn't excite you, interest you, you just get really motivated talking about it, you might want to rethink what business you're getting involved in. I mean, so
that's why I never bought that petting zoo, because
would you like to talk about it?
Is it very scary?
No, I never would.
Was it a fear of petting of the animals? You didn't like to touch the animals?
The hotness, the smells. But that is the biggest question I think a lot of people have to ask, whether you're leaving the corporate world because you're bored or frustrated or whatever and want to strike out on your own, is, am I going to own the business, or am I going to own it and run it? Because I think a lot of times when you buy a business, you wind up running it until you find someone to manage the business for you. I mean, unless you know somebody coming in when you buy it and go, man, I'm going to buy this place and Ray's going to run it for me, or someone else is going to run it for me. That's a big part of that initial decision. And Brad mentioned, am I going to buy into a franchise, or am I buying some independent business that's already up and running? And I think a third big question you need to ask yourself is, kind of to your point, what do I bring to this business? Like, why am I going to be successful doing this? Do I have some new marketing idea, some new product idea? Do I think I can run it better than the last guy? Or, is it just a great business and I'm buying it for the cash flow?
So let's ask Brad. So when I say you play pool, you play in tournaments, like you travel, go. So did you look at this pool hall and go, I got ideas? Like I know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So wait, do you already have one in mind, or you're just looking for a pool hall?
No, I have. So the investors or the other partners that would be involved with it had begin exploring a new location for a pool hall, and then one came about that can be purchased, an existing business that I think kind of fits more the bill for what I'd like to see happen. Great location, doing well, but it has so much upside and opportunity. And like you said, I enjoy playing pool. I play in leagues, have many good friends that play pool that are really talented pool players. And so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, there's a zest for it. There's a real interest in getting involved with it. And at the same time, you see an existing business that is already successful and you see so much opportunity and potential there. And that's what's appealing to me.
If I knew this, I would have said we moved the whole podcast over to the pool table just to our right and play a game.
Just start playing.
No, I can't wait for the remotes someday, right? We'll be recording from
at the
Baldy's
Baldy's. Maybe
Billiards.
that's season 3.
Yeah.
That is a cool name, Baldy's Billiards.
I like
I actually
Baldy's
like
Billiards,
that name. You failed to mention one thing, which is financially. I mean, can you afford?
What?
to
Yeah.
start a
How
business?
great you
Buy a
want to
business?
buy a business? How you gonna fund it? Do you have money saved up? Are you gonna finance it? If you are gonna finance it, where do you go for that financing? Like if you're a serial entrepreneur and you've bought and sold businesses, your banks are probably just waiting for you to come with the next loan request. But if you're leaving the corporate world, you're going to be in for quite a shock the first time you go to a bank and say, "Hey, I'm looking to buy a business. Could you loan me $500,000?" They'll be like, "Right, yeah,
Right.
Okay.
And that's another consideration is that we're heavily involved in growing by your side. I've got many banking relationships or financial or institutional investors involved, and it'd be like, wait a minute, so you're going to veer off and do that? And that's why I'm saying if I have to get heavily involved, and Brian was touching on this, if you got to make one of the decision points you got to make is, okay, it sounds really cool to buy a business, but then it's okay, are you going to run it day to day? Because if you're not going to run it day
or
to
are
day,
you just going to play pool there?"
yeah. What is your plan to ensure that it's ran correctly, and that the business is run efficiently, and that you're turning over a nice profit, you're growing the business? Because if it's if it's a pet project, or it's something that is satisfying an itch, like I love to play pool, so I'm going to buy a pool hall.
Right, it's more of a hobby than a business.
Yeah, that's
you're in trouble.
that's the worst thing to do. So
Well, think how many people you know that have bought bars. I mean, we talk about it, but that have bought bars and a year later they're out of business because I think they thought more of it as a cool place to hang out and invite friends than an actual business that has to be concerned about inventory and costs and employees and licenses and stuff like that.
no, that's exactly it, and that's why this decision isn't of course I want to buy one or own one.
Sure.
Of course, it would be so cool to own my own pool hall or be involved in an ownership group
Hosting
that
your own
owns
tournaments.
hosting your own tournaments
how fun
and
is that?
talking about how to generate, increased liquor sales and how do you, food sales and running tournaments and potentially have, because it's a part bar, part restaurant, part pool hall type situation. And so from the appeal of it, oh, how exciting. This is great. I can't wait. But then to Brian's point, when that luster wears off and then you start thinking about, okay, well, geez, all right, if I can't find the person to run this, well, then who runs it? And then you're just paying some serious expense out and you're not bringing in what you expected. Now, all of a sudden it's a major liability or it's a burden. So that's one of those things you got to think through. A cool idea it's got to be something that's actionable into a plan that you can actually roll out.
Yeah, and we've talked about when we talked about selling a business, we asked, is this a lifestyle business or is this an equity business? This is kind of a separate section of lifestyle business. You're not depending on it for your living. Because you've already had other businesses that have been successful and investments that have been successful, but it's more of a lifestyle business than I'm going to buy this pool hall for $500,000 and sell it for $3 million in 3 years.
That's correct. Yeah. It'll be something. It would be something that I would envision that would be a lifestyle business in the sense that down the road, I envision myself saying, okay, down the road, if I've moved on to other things, it's years down the road, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to enjoy my later years in life? Okay, well, I'd like to be involved with something that's got, as a bar, a restaurant, a pool hall, pool tournament, bands there. It's something, it's a lot of the appeals and interests that I enjoy today. So it is something I got to consider. But
And did you say you're not looking at, I'm going to buy this, and then in 2 years I'll build another one? You're looking at this one.
yeah, it would be a nice,
This is
it'd be
your
like,
home. This is your base.
yes, exactly. I liken it to a very nice restaurant that someone buys and then says, I would like to just own this restaurant. And whether you buy the restaurant out of necessity and you have to own it and you have to earn your livelihood from it, this would be incremental income to me that I wouldn't necessarily depend on.
Yeah.
but it's not something that you could also be like, oh, it's a nice hobby on the side. It's got serious bills. It's got payroll. It's got supplies. It's got marketing, advertising. It's got all the things every other business has, but it may not necessarily. Well, I have to make a determination. Will it require my time, energy, commitment to the level I can give it? And I've always said, if you're not all in, even part-time, you better rethink your idea, because you got to be all in mentally. Can you commit to that? And there's only so many things you can commit to before something gives in on you sacrifice something. Family, friends, your other business, your other hobbies, your other interests. Sooner or later, there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you know what you want to do at this point. A lot of younger people that I think get disillusioned with corporate life or, just business in general say, well, I want to buy something so that I run it, I own it, I control it. I don't know what it is yet, but that's the most important factor for me is I want to own it and I want to run it. And I think a lot of times your best option is to go to a franchise expo and see different franchise type businesses and get a sense of what's out there and how other companies present their businesses and what's included and what they provide for you and what you need to know and how much money you need to have. And then from there, you can decide, okay, maybe I don't really want a franchise. I want to buy some local grocery store or local dry cleaner or something like that. Mattress store, Afghan store, beanbag store that has a drive-through. Yeah. I mean, there's a bazillion options.
Franchise of Eddie Spaghetti.
So, one of the things we wanted to talk about is how do you make that decision? What goes into deciding? Like I think you mentioned the number one for any retail business. It's retail or hospitality. It's got to be location. I can't tell you how many times I've seen the same restaurant go out of business every other year. It's like, who keeps buying this place? It's in such a horrible location. It doesn't have parking, or it's on the wrong side of an intersection.
Where somebody opens, I can think of a nearby restaurant right now, a nearby restaurant bar, where it's gone through 4 or 5 different ownership groups, and they keep putting a bar there, a bar restaurant, thinking that they have the
I got the better idea.
I got something that's gonna bring the people into this location that's hidden, tucked away, off the beaten path, that no one really thinks about because it's a transition point between 2 locations and you don't see it. And yet it's going through, it's probably 4th or 5th different.
We're going to put hot bacon in a cup, and that's going to drive it. No one else does bacon in a cup.
Right. So
I like that idea.
So one of the things, so you brought
but that's a great idea.
Bacon in a cup.
Oh yeah, I've gone to bars, so they got a little thing there.
Write that down for your pool.
Just keep bringing out the bacon
in a cup. I like that
because of the hot and salty you keep drinking. Oh, it's great.
But if you think about the point he just said, which is how many times you see a place where you're like, okay, it was X, and then of a certain industry. So let's say it was a bar. And then that bar failed, and then another bar opens there, and then that failed, and then another bar opens, and the incoming owner of of the 4th bar now in that location, I honestly don't think those people go back and say what was here.
What used to be here? What was here before that restaurant?
Yeah,
another
that's
restaurant.
Really, what it was. What was it 3 times before? Oh, still a bar. Always a bar.
Well, my bar is going to be better. Why?
Yeah.
Right.
And a lot of times it's not, well, just because we're going to bring a different vibe. Okay, but if it's
we're going to cater to the customer. Okay.
Yeah. So it is interesting. So yeah, Brian.
Do most people on location, do you also have to take into account what's around you? Is it not only where it's located, but what other businesses? Do people do enough diligence to go, what is around that's going to complement?
So when I was in the video rental business, I think I've talked about this before. We did population and traffic studies like extensively before we committed to a location. And we used to follow the drugstores, like Walgreens and CVS had whole departments that did population and traffic studies. Because you have to choose a location where there's at least enough people to keep you in business.
So if you see a Walgreens, or you're going
generally,
yes,
we're at a good intersection. There's enough residential around here. There's enough commercial.
That's why you hit the subscribe button for tips like that.
There are a lot of tips and tricks like that. And if you talk to, we always say some of the best advice is get a pro to help you. There are business brokers out there. Some are worthless. Some are incredibly helpful. They've got experience with this kind of stuff and can steer you away from the things that are going to be a quagmire and going to cost you money and bring you opportunities that really do suit your needs. And just like a real estate agent, when you're buying a house, they're going to ask you those questions. Okay, what size of a business are you looking for? Where do you want it to be? Do you want it to be close to your home? Do you not care? Who's going to manage it? How much, are you willing to spend on this thing? Maybe you could buy a dry cleaners for, $50,000, $100,000, but you can't buy a massive bar and restaurant for that. That's a much bigger commitment. And things like, are you looking for move-in ready, or are you going to go in and, completely upgrade this place,
build it out? And I would think so. Let's get back to the why you're doing it in the first place, or what are the things you got to consider, right? And I was thinking through some of these things as we were using Baldy's Billiards as an example. Okay, so first question you got to ask yourself: are you running the business day to day, or is someone else going to run it for you? That's the very first decision point you got to think about. And you think it's very basic, but you got to think through is like, I'm just going to get somebody. Okay, do you have somebody in mind? Have you thought through how much that person should be paid?
Yeah, there's a cost to that.
Have you built it into the financial analysis of, because don't just say I'm going to buy a business right away, go into, especially if you're buying an existing business, just like we talked about when we said selling a business. I want to see your financials. And I'll tell you why. One of the reasons I'm struggling with the current pool hall is what they're producing for financial statements. It's basically, there's a big difference
Cocktail napkin.
between audited financials and writing things on the back of a napkin, right? Yeah. And I feel like we're much closer to the back of a napkin discussion than we are on the audited financial standpoint. And so do you have to be, all the way over on this side, audited financials? No, you don't. But you should be. And we talked about this. How many? 3-4 episodes ago. You're not keeping tight financials. It's gonna come back to hurt you, and it's hurting this owner right now because they're saying, "Well, I don't understand." I go, scribbles on this piece of paper are not going to get me to spend over $1 million on your business until I see some bank statements. I want to see your expenses. I want to see your payroll run.
Your cash flow.
Revenues, your cash flow. I want to see your trending. What has sales been at different times of the year? What was it last year? What was it this year? What was the year before? If you can't produce that sort of thing right away, yellow flags go up. Right?
Is that a yellow flag? Did you at all look at that and go, there's an opportunity here. If I got this in order, we could really start making, or do you look at it as this is not it? This is
no, it's truly part of why it's such a big indecision, because I think personally it's got great upside potential and it has already been successful from what has been produced. Mm-hmm. But can you trust what's been produced?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's a big reason for buying, because, I don't know what you're going to invest, but if it's $1 million, you could easily start from scratch and just buy all new billiards tables, pool tables, put in a new bar, find some other location. So the assumption is, well, no, we're going to buy this business because they've got some history, they've got some clientele, maybe they have some leagues, maybe they have some loyal clients. That's what you're really buying. We talked about this in the selling your business. Like, what is it that's valuable to a buyer? I mean, if it's just the pool tables and bar stools, like, hey, they can get that anywhere.
Yeah, great location, great steady stream of clients. It's very well known.
Is it in a growing neighborhood?
It's in a growing neighborhood.
Up and
do
coming.
They do bands right now or trivia?
They don't do bands. They don't do food. They do limited alcohol.
A lot of places don't do food though now. They partner with like food trucks.
Which I don't know. I don't necessarily.
Places.
I don't know if I necessarily agree,
Food's
because from the standpoint of, there's people that spend hours upon hours at this pool hall and they wind up leaving to go buy food somewhere else, and they bring the food back, which they allow the food in there. And it's like, you don't have to go invest in some heavy, commercial kitchen, but get some, get something.
Well, some cups of bacon. Now that I'm aware of that,
bacon in a cup.
We were literally at this bar that I grew up in and had the worst pizza. They just served it. We would eat it every Friday. Every Friday we get 2 or 3 of them. But hey, listen, we're hungry.
And that's what I'm saying. If it's something simple where you don't have to run out invest in buying food somewhere. Because remember, a lot of businesses will say we don't want to lose that client. The minute a customer walks out the door, you've just lost a paying customer. You want that customer to be sitting there and saying, why don't we just eat here? Why don't we just get our drinks here? Why don't we play pool here? Why don't we stay here? Instead of like, well, let's go across the
Stay
street
here
to
like
eat.
a hotel upstairs. Oh, you're tired. Just go. You're drunk.
But,
Yeah,
Some bacon next to your bed if you want to.
Next
But
to the
okay,
Bible.
so are you running it day to day? Are you getting somebody? So let's assume that I've got somebody to get it. It's like, okay, are they somebody you can trust? I mean, is there cash involved? Do they have the same expectations as you? Like, do they see the business in the same?
Are you going to
vein
cut
you
them
do?
in on it?
And then, another point I said is, if there is a mutual understanding of where you want to take the business, if you have somebody that comes to manage a place day to day for you, one of the biggest things I would suggest, and I will do for this individual that runs it first, is give them ownership percentage. I'll give them a percentage of the business, because if your own stake is at it and like, hey, I can actually I can influence how this place grows. And if it grows and does really well, I get a cut of that. That's a big thing. And I think a lot of people don't take that into consideration, is if you got a key role in your company, especially if it's a role that you're not planning on running yourself or you want somebody else to run it, make sure you give them some form of small ownership percentage in the business.
I agree. You want to
Is that-
invest it in the
Is
success.
that easier to do for a lifestyle business and for a big, like, is it okay to, because I know you've warned people before, careful of how much, you pay.
I think it's fine for life. I mean, it makes more sense in an equity business, but lifestyle, to Brad's point, it's more about making sure they have a vested interest in the day-to-day profitability of the company. If they're going to get dividends or distributions or things like that. Because again, we've talked about this before, and I think it's important. It's not, I'm giving you 5% of the company because in 3 years we're going to sell it for 5x. That's an equity business. Here it's, hey, if we could make this thing profitable, this could supplement your
There's
income.
a distribution, and you got 5% ownership in it. It's an extra bonus that always comes to you whenever we make distributions. So, a couple other things I would say really quick is, okay, are you committed to its success? So whether or not you are going to be there some of the time, part-time or full-time, all in. If you have an all-in mentality and you can commit to it full-time, but if you think you can start a business that requires heavy hand-holding or requires that you be on late night phone calls or early morning visits or whatever it may be, if you feel like I don't have to do that, but the business is going to be successful, there's very few that do it. And so if you're not all in, you don't have that mentality where like, I am fully committed to this, don't do it. That would be my advice. And that's why even if I was sitting on a pile of cash and had no problem with the downstroke of buying this thing, I'd be like, am I all in on it? And that's what I'm going through right now. Psychologically, is it something that I can commit to? Because if I can't, I don't want to be involved.
This is interesting because it sounds like you really are in between.
I am. I'm
Yeah.
truly on the fence. I'm 50-50 in which way I go. And then one of the other points of it is can you afford for the business to fail? And I say that only in the sense like, hey, if I'm investing so much money into it, is my life depending on it? Because that's different than or do I have disposable income I'm using? Disposable capital? Am I using my lifetime savings to build this business? What will it compromise if it doesn't work? Because depending on how important this is, the outcome of your financial success, whether it means like you're in ruins and you're going bankrupt, or that's a nice hobby, making some disposable income on the side. That's an important aspect that you got to think through before you even start the business for me. And that's, again, that's another thing I'm thinking through is like, can I afford for this thing to lose if I don't go at it 100%? Yeah, I think I could. Because if it does not work out, are you going to be able to rebound? Are you going to be able to bounce back? Are you able to do the things you still want to do in life? If your life depends on your business, that tells you how much time you should be committing to it. And that's a decision point I'm weighing right now. So
Right. Yeah. You don't want to wind up a year down the road saddled with debt and a lease that you can't get out of. You can't sublease and a bunch of equipment you don't need. And
This is a good start. I think we should keep the conversation going. I think we should talk about process next time.
Yeah, how you actually go about buying a business,
that's
what
the
that
first step.
takes,
Other
involves,
things that
and-
come into consideration. But yeah, I think it's a good start to consider. And I think using Baldy's Billiards as an example, because the questions that you guys will leave, I imagine
we're
you
helping
guys
Brad.
ask-
We should be
Well, I
charging
know.
him for consulting.
I know maybe the 50-50 becomes 55, 45. I start leaning one way or the other. So I'm hoping you guys help me out with that.
Let's
All right,
we got
our-
a pool table over there. We want to play for some equity.
There we go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready.
I've been playing in 10 years. Let's see how I do.
Do it. Really? Come on.
All
let's go.
right.
Let's
Sounds
go.
good, guys.
Let's
Cheers. Happy
go.
Friday.
Let's play the pool.
Let's play some pool.